The Intellectual Gentlemen's Club.
And here we are once again. Welcome back to the IGC podcast, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm the one they call Jason Abbott. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're here in October of 2014, and we have a special interview today with my friend Sylvain Renaud. Really enjoyed this conversation. He is a breast cancer survivor. Yes, you heard me right. Men do get breast cancer. It affects less than 1% of the population, as I'm told. It was really great to talk to Sylvain. I think you guys will get a lot out of this podcast. Just a really sincere, great individual. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Take care. Just a little business first here. If you guys like tuning in and you want to support the show, the best way to support the IGC is to share out the episodes and the blogs to your friends, colleagues, family, anyone who may find it interesting. Shoot it out through email, social media, and word of mouth is... They always say word of mouth is best. We're on Twitter and Facebook. You can follow us and like us to receive updates. And whenever we have a new show released, I always post it on there so you guys can stay tuned in. By reviewing us and subscribing us, rating us in iTunes and Stitcher or wherever else you may find us on the internets.com is another great way to support us. It helps increase traffic to the episodes, gains us momentum, and getting additional listeners and getting some of these ideas shared out that may not get so much coverage on mainstream media. Another great way to support is our affiliate links. They cost you no extra money on your purchases with our sponsors. That includes Amazon, Onnit, and Audible.com. You just follow the links on our support page, which is at intellectualgentlemensclub.com/support. Just follow those links there. Whatever you purchase within that session, including stuff off your wish list, gives us a small cut of that corporate budget for advertising and whatnot. It's perfect for regular purchases around the holidays, and we both win on it. So if you guys frequent those companies, I would really appreciate if you guys use the links. I believe if you use our Audible link, you get free 30 days of service or gives you a free trial. Onnit.com, it has a lot of fitness equipment, nutritional supplements, and generally just cool type of stuff. Amazon, you guys all know what that is. Last way, if you guys really want to dish it out, we will gladly accept any PayPal donations through the donate button on our website. Takes all major credit cards. Any way you guys can help us, we appreciate it. If you can't, keep tuning in. Doesn't really matter anyway. I'll keep doing it. I'm going to play the trailer to his upcoming podcast called Renaud 2.0. You're going to hear Joe Rogan take us in with the conversation that is relevant. You hear us talking about it a little bit throughout the podcast, so tune in. A little bit of a visual at the end. You'll hear clippers going, and that is when you see Sylvain shaving his head from the cancer treatments. And he's a professional videographer, so I'm really curious to see what this is going to look like when it comes all out. You can see the trailer on Vimeo right now. I had some slight sound issues on my end. Sylvain came in loud and clear. I was a little muffled, so I had to do some editing and bring up my voice a little bit. So apologize for the lack of performance and perfection, but you'll have to make do. So without any further ado, I give you Sylvain Renaud.
Yeah, I have a buddy who served and came back, and he loves fishing, and he had a real hard time getting back into hunting. He said, you see so much death at a certain point in time, you don't want to be a part of any of it.
Totally sympathize.
Yeah. He got back. He lives in New Mexico. He got back into elk hunting. New Mexico is great for elk. He got back into it after a while, but it took him a while. It took him a while to just sort of just settle in. He's just like, I saw too much death.
Yeah. 100. Totally empathetic to that.
Is there ever going to be a time when there's no war? Is that even possible with human beings?
Not in my lifetime.
That's a disturbing idea for people, because if people have this idea, I mean, it's a shitty analogy, but it's one that I use. If 20 people can get along, if okay, there's 5 of us in this room, or 4 of us in this room. If there's 4 people in this room and we can get along, can 40 people get along? Yes, 40 people can get along. You could have a community of 40 people with no problems and just live from birth to death, and everybody, nobody kills anybody.
Maybe that weird outlier at 40, but as a community, they'll absorb him for what he is or whatever.
Yeah, but then you get to 4,000. No, someone's gonna die.
Yeah.
So Jim's a douche. We gotta take out Jim. And everybody's gonna meet by the campfire and go, look, this motherfucker is just ruining our life. He doesn't hunt. He eats all our food. He fucks our women when we're not there. He beats our kids. We gotta kill this guy. And there's out of a certain number, there's gonna be this one that comes up. And then when you deal with 7 billion, it's like, whoa, how does that ever become manageable? I mean, do human beings have to evolve past what we are right now? Do we have to reach some new stage? Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Well, you would know better than anybody what the horrors of war are. So would you think that someone who's experienced that would have a better perspective about what's necessary and what's not necessary when it comes to sort of just managing peace?
We are back at the IGC, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 36. We have a very special guest tonight. Without any further ado, I want to introduce to you Sylvain Renaud. He is a professional videographer. He hails from Ottawa, Canada, and tonight we're going to speak in depth about his journey through cancer. It's a very brave individual that I've been in contact with through the podcast community. We spoke a couple months ago briefly about the situation he has, and he's got a movie that he's going to be releasing. It's called Renaud 2.0. So I'm going to just kind of turn it over here to Sil, and he's going to give us an idea of what it's like to deal with this situation. Sil, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jason. It's an honor to be here. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and as of other podcasts as well, and the work that you're doing is very, very beneficial. I just want to get that out of the way, and what you're doing is very honorable, and I'm just really happy to be here.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. When this all started, I didn't realize how in-depth things might get. I realized I was going to learn some things along the way, but it's just been an invaluable tool for me as growing as a person. And you've been a major inspiration for me over the last few months especially. I've been dealing with some of my own health issues, and I just kind of focused, like we were just speaking a little bit earlier, I've been focusing a lot on you and what you had to go through in the last year or so. And before we get into your cancer story and going through all that, why don't you give us a brief background on yourself and how you got to this present moment?
I come from a broken home. My mom, single mom with 3 kids, from a very humbling beginning here in Ottawa, where it's more of the slum part of the city. I think I've always been trying to please a dad I've never had, and that's led me to try and figure shit out for myself most of my life. And I've been alone a lot in my life. I remember being alone as a kid. And then just growing up, and it's interesting. Like I said, I don't know if I said that, but I've always been trying to put on a show for a dad that I've never had. And I've always been wanting to be part of something important. And this is probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life, is to share the experience of getting cancer and everything that comes with it, and trying to figure out, like, where do I go from here? But leading up to that, I'm sort of like jumping ahead here. So that was my humbling beginning in Ottawa, and then I got married. My first wife, had a child who's now 22, full-grown man, and and then I worked. I became a blue-collar worker, and I worked for Federal Express for 25 years, man. That was a quarter of a century. My life was delivering packages, running around as fast as I could. Almost felt like I had joined the Navy SEALs at time, because the winters here could be really bad, and I've always been a hard worker. So it's always been, I guess, my life is a story of survival, really, from the beginning, and I'm still surviving today. So I had a child, 22 now. I got divorced 10 years after my marriage, and got remarried to my wife Caroline 8 years ago, and in October of last year, it's been a year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which is very rare for a man to have. Less than 1%, I hear.
Less than 1%, okay.
Right, so it's like winning the cancer lottery in a way, you know.
So do you still get into the pink hole thing, right, man? It's not like you're a man, so it doesn't count. You still get to wear the pink ribbon.
Do I? I don't know. All the literature I would get was for women. And I played that card at one point. I said, well, this doesn't even mention men here. It's pretty discriminatory. Yeah.
See how that could be a...
Yeah. But the thing started as a cyst. Like, I thought, well, the nipple started to get inverted. And I thought...
right away, it was to do with your nipple.
Yeah, my right nipple started to get inverted, but it felt like it was like an ingrown hair, you know, like so I didn't think anything of it. And then there was a little ball that started forming, like a pea size, like even smaller than that. And I said, all right, that's just a cyst. I've had cysts before, you know, it can be removed. So I never thought of breast cancer or any panic. And I didn't talk about what I do for a living now, which is after the courier stuff. We make films, and we make these Super Bowl wedding films. It's these used 4 or 5 camera productions, all like cinematic and so on. So we were working really hard on that all summer, and then that thing just kept growing. My nipple, that little ball, just kept growing to the point where at one point it got sensitive, it started hurting, and I said,
how big was it at that point?
Then it was like the size of 2 peas, maybe.
Okay.
So then, and then it got itchy, and it got really sensitive to the touch. So that was my first trip to the hospital, and they took a biopsy, and then, a few weeks later, I had a meeting with the surgeon, and she told me, like, that has to be removed. You've got breast cancer. Doesn't look good. Yeah, exactly. And
were you expecting any faction that kind of diagnosis? Or
I was sort of in denial. My wife knew that's what it was, because my wife even said that. I don't know if you saw the movie 50-50.
Don't think so.
Okay, there's a scene at the beginning where his buddy comes out who has cancer, and then his buddy goes, "You smell weird." So cancer has a smell.
I've heard. Well, dogs can detect it. I've heard.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
I don't have a dog. I have 2 cats. But my wife said there's something not right. You're not smelling right. Like,
wow.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? So my wife from the beginning did all the research, did all the Google research, because like most men, I didn't want any part of it. I don't want to know what's going on.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think probably it's either that reaction or you're on fucking WebMD all day. Like, what's wrong with me? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And then lo and behold, that's what it was. And wow, talk about a psychedelic trip. I mean, that is a psychedelic trip, just to be told that. It's weird. You've got a million emotions going through your body at once, so it's hard to even put things in perspective because it's a shock.
Right?
It's a shock. Yeah, it's a shock to your system. Like you've never experienced it, so you don't even know how to react. Mm-hmm. So my first reaction was to go heavily into booze. Like I would start drinking Jack Daniels first thing in the morning. Fuck. First thing in the morning when I get up. I was like fucking
the day
drunk.
You found out, day after.
Yeah. I was drunk all day, all the time. Yeah. Just because I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, sure.
And from there, I had to stop drinking when I started my chemo.
Sure.
And I'm gonna rewind a bit. Mm-hmm. To a conversation I had with my son 2 years ago. And the reason why podcasts are so important in my life is that over lunch, I had seen a video from London Real where they're discussing DMT and dimethyltryptamine, which is supposed to be, comes from the pineal gland and it's what helps us to dream at night. And that whole thing I had never heard about my whole life. So my son, I listen to Joe Rogan sometimes, and you should check it out, and there's some good stuff on there. And go, really? And that was the beginning of an obsession for me, to be honest with you. My Google search led me to London Real. I watched over 50 hours of London Real episodes back when Nick was part of London Real with the three.
That's how we kind of got hooked up, man. When Nick and Brian were doing London Real together, we were on the London Reelers page on Facebook or something, and then we got connected through there and something like that, right? Because you did the promo video for.
Correct. So this was 2 years before my cancer. I watched that. I'm completely blown away by this new medium where it's just a free-form conversation. There's a lot of vulnerability involved. Somebody makes a mistake, no big deal. Somebody corrects it with a tweet that comes in live. All that dynamic I thought was like, wow, that's refreshing. I find like the egos are being removed from the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I became obsessed with it. So I watched over 50 hours, and then I sent a message to Brian Rose saying, my wife and I will come down and do a promo video for you because what you're doing, we really believe in it. So basically, on a whim, they said yes. We went over there, and we shot a promo for them. And after that, it became almost a way of life for me. Like I gave up TV. I mean, and just the information all the information is so beneficial. It's honest. Yeah, it's honest. Exactly.
It's, and I think Joe's talked about it before. It's like you spend 3 hours with somebody, you start to see where the bullshit, can start to come in. You can start to see through somebody after 3 hours of a conversation,
Very true.
And especially if you listen to that week after week after week. Like, with IGC, there's probably, I don't know, close to 40 hours available, right?
Right.
And I was the same thing for me, man. As soon as somebody turned me on to Joe Rogan, it was like, all right. And I've worked in the television type of industry for a long time, and I see like the dangers behind that. So it's like I limited my TV intake. I stopped listening to so much probably negative music, and I just focused like on learning and on podcasts. I used to listen to a lot of audiobooks when I would cut grass, but podcasts didn't really exist back then.
Right.
But I kind of went off the deep edge, and that's where I'm at here, man.
Yeah, and the thing is it was something that I needed it at that time, meaning I was sort of bored, if you know what I mean. Intellectually, I was bored. It's like I had hit a wall. Like, what else is there to learn? Right. And then, now the floodgates have opened, and it's like, it's unlimited. It's really to infinity,
Yeah.
the stuff that we can learn about. I mean, and I think I've always had like that desire to keep moving forward, progressing as a human being. And I felt stale at the time, so that conversation with my son got me into that. And then it led to us going over, forming these friendships, connecting with other podcasts like yourself. And the whole thing has just been an amazing trip, really. And with the cancer, I got heavily into watching podcasts. Then it became, my routine would be get up at 5 a.m. during the 6 months of chemo, radiation, and watch 1 or 2 podcasts even before I started editing my wedding films and stuff that we do. So out of that, I would make notes that really hit home and sort of connected to the situation I was going through. And I said this to Brian Rose, because he was on my podcast. It's just amazing. It really, really is incredible that it's helped my life in that way. Like, I owe a lot to podcasts. I do. It's really like magic. For me, it is, because it's what I needed at that time. And
it's amazing how the universe provides what you need sometimes, you know? It's like, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need.
Yeah. Hey, Rolling Stones.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so because I didn't want to get a cold while on chemo, because I wanted this 6-month thing to finish just on time for the spring so I could start working again, filming stuff. So I never went out really. I didn't go out a lot. So I kept to myself, you know, the sanitizer everywhere. Anybody that would come in and visit me would clean their hands and all that. So I spent a lot of time alone. And the nice thing about being alone is nobody's judging you. You can really, really be yourself.
Now, earlier you said that you were alone a lot when you were younger.
Yes.
Did that kind of take you back to when you were younger?
Oh yeah. I went through everything.
Right.
I went through everything. I mean, and then you start looking back and you wonder how much of your past history makes who you are today. So earlier I said that I was always trying to please this dad I never had, and the one guy that came into my life who was a teacher, Boy Scout leader, befriended my mom, who he became my father figure. He molested me sexually after, and that's, you know what I mean? That was my, like, oh fuck.
That's not something you needed at the time, dude.
No, I was about 10 years old. And I look back today and I wonder, like, in my head, it seems like it hasn't affected me. But all that goes through your head. You just, like, how much of an effect does it have, like, on my sexual preferences, on my, like, I'm not gay or anything. It didn't have anything to do with that. There was no, like, penetration or anything. It was mostly just masturbation, kissing. But as a 10-year-old kid back then,
how do you
we're
decipher?
talking like 70s. Exactly.
You don't even know what's what at that point.
Exactly. I've never even had the conversation with my mom, like, about, you know, and that.
Yeah.
So with my son, I became obsessive with that. Like, at 5 years old, he knew, like, nobody touches his wee-wee unless he's, you know, a doctor's looking at it, or daddy has to put some ointment for a bobo or something. But yeah.
You know, in my family, there's been abuse like that. I won't get into specifics because people are still alive and whatnot, but, you know, it was very damaging. And that's, again, with my kids, I did the same thing. I'm, like, probably too honest when it comes to sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know, like the big issues in life, man, where people are going to feed bullshit to kids. I try and I've mentioned this countless times in the podcast. I try and be completely honest with them. You come to me with a question. You are going to get an honest answer. I'm not going to give you the same bullshit your teachers and your friends are going to tell you at school. I'm your parent. This is our job. It's our job to protect you and prepare you for the world. And I really feel that the earlier you start talking about these huge issues, it doesn't taboo them. So it's not like, I just want it to be like a natural type of exposure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Organic. Like just this happens. Yeah. This happens.
It's not a big deal. You know, this is how life works. Instead of being, 16 and someone passes a joint to my kid and they're like, well, what's this? What does this do? It's like, I want to erase ignorance from their life as much as I possibly can,
Yes, and the point is it's going to happen anyways.
Sure.
Like my son was smoking weed. My wife now, Caroline, knew this way before I did. I didn't think he was smoking weed, but he was. So I was naive in that way. Because for me, drugs, I come from a background of, again, going back in time and talking about ideologies, I got heavily into the philosophy of objectivism with Ayn Rand. So, Ayn Rand makes like libertarian look like communists.
Sure.
It's like, it's extreme. And so I became very disciplined in what I was doing, but I bought that ideology and it made me who I was for quite a while. But within the groups, the circle that I was in, I realized that that's not who I wanted to be. And I was sort of the rebel within the group. I don't know if you know what I mean. Like I would question some of the stuff that was happening. So it's always been there for me to question stuff. But ideologies are really, really crazy. They really are crazy. I've lived through that. It was like a religion. It was like if you didn't believe, Stephen Molyneux was on Rogan not that long ago. Yeah. And that whole thing, like, it was scary when he was talking about eliminating people from your lives, because I remember being that guy. Like, I remember blocking people out. Like, you don't believe in this, then you're on the outside looking in.
It sounds a lot like Congress, man,
Well, like any religion, really.
Well, yeah, it's a programmed insanity almost to some degree. It's like, you have to accept this dogma as 100% truth, or you're not a real believer. You're not a true believer, Whether you're talking about Christianity or Judaism or Islam or Buddhism or Taoism, animism, whatever you want to tackle, But I think everybody has to have some type of agnosticism in them to keep everybody honest. If you
agree.
only surround yourself with the same ideas, then that's all you're ever going to produce.
And I didn't even like the atheist I had become because it was so dogmatic. It was so like, no, there's no, like, I'm going, nobody fucking knows. Like, you can't say it either way. Just shut up about it. Nobody knows. Like, and the main point of this movie, I think the main thing of the movie is to inspire, not quit, of course. It's a story of survival. But the main thing is I don't think we know what this is about. We don't.
That's an awesome way to put it, dude. Very simple.
Exactly.
I agree with you. There's nobody out there alive, right, that could possibly understand the mechanisms behind everything that exists. And everything plays on one another, right? So if you don't understand at one point, how could you understand the rest?
Correct. And you can see now, it's weird, when I go, the cancer experience has showed me now, like, I'm trusting more my feelings, like my gut feeling. When I see a red flag come up, when I hear something or when I'm talking to somebody, I can feel the bullshit. I can feel the ego behind it. Like, it's just not real. To me, anything that comes without any vices or vulnerability, to me, that's a red flag. Because we're human. We're in a fucking monkey suit,
Are you trying to tell me that Dr. Phil is not perfect? Are you here to tell me that President Obama is not perfect?
That's what I'm telling you.
You're telling me you're not perfect?
Good night. Thank you very much.
All right, we're done.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. But we all walk around, people walk around with this amount of certainty and, like, I never smoked weed till I was in my 50s, and I only started like a couple of weeks ago. I'm touching about that in the movie because it was, I got caught up in the brainwash that you're a lazy fuck if you're on marijuana and you're just a stoner and you're not productive. And I bought into all of that. It's really, really amazing. Which comes back to ideology. Just comes back to people, telling me the way shit's going to go down when they've never experienced it themselves is a weird concept. It's extremely weird.
I also think there's a lot to be said for basically social norms, right? Like the social norm of the group that you're in, right? People want to please other people. You want to be liked, right? And
yes.
I think a lot of people sacrifice their own ideas in order to fit into XYZ group. And they don't really give a second thought about it because I'm in this group, right? So by changing anything, I might have a problem with this group and have to go find another group or whatever. But it seems like the people who put themselves out there and are open to more ideas and open to question other ideas and people that are in their said group or not, those are the people that will grow far further than anybody else.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It makes sense, too.
If you're not exposed to new ideas, how do you even know to think about something different,
Yeah, that is weird. That's a strange fucking concept. I've had born-again Christians tell me, don't worry about it, bro. It's all going to burn anyway. It's just a weird thing to be told. Yeah. When you're a passionate individual where you think everything matters, your intentions fucking matter, like the vibe you're putting through to other people.
When you say that, you've been told by born-again Christians, don't worry about it, it's all going to burn anyway. I agree with them. Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, when you're talking, billions of years from now, everything is going to fucking burn.
That's true. That's true.
I do think it does matter what we do with our time here. I don't think that it, on one hand, I do think it's all going to burn literally, right? In quotation marks.
Well,
figuratively
it will,
speaking,
actually, right? 5.6 billion years or whatever.
Yeah,
it will. Yeah.
Figuratively speaking, it matters a whole hell of a lot what we do with every moment of our existence. Because I'll just kind of go off on a tangent here real quick. I lost my grandmother about a month ago to cancer. We only knew she had it for a couple weeks. It was very fast. Stage 4 lung cancer, eroded her spine, compressed her spine, and it went very fast. But at her eulogy, there was something I was talking about something Duncan Trussell put in my head about a year ago, and it's the concept of the net of Indra. And the whole thing is I don't know if you've heard him talk about it or maybe you've heard it somewhere else, but picture like a spider web with dewdrops in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. All these dewdrops are shining like a gem. Well, think of all those dewdrops as an individual in society, okay? One drop, the light on that will shine to the neighbor, and therefore, and it keeps going like that. So you can either shine bright, or you can, tone down your brightness, which tones down the rest of the net, right?
Okay.
So the idea is to shine brighter, to make everybody else shine brighter. You when I talk to my kids, it's like, you want to lift people up. You don't want to knock people down. It takes the same amount of energy to say, that sucks, as to look over on the other side and say, that's pretty good. It takes the exact same amount of energy to come out of your mouth with those words. But what those words do is they have a reflection on the person you're speaking about. Or even speaking to.
Yes. Has a huge impact. And I think that the way we've set up our competition thing is strange in a way. It's like we don't think laterally. We think like who's on top all the time.
We're in a corporate world, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Where everybody, if we're all in the same line, we can all, it's there for everyone to be successful or be happy or...
When I look at indigenous cultures, whether you're talking in the Amazon or Native American or wherever, that's their line of thinking. It's like we're all one. We're a community. We share everything and we work it out together. Mm-hmm. Modern society, I feel, is structured way differently than that. It's about who's driving the biggest car, who's got the biggest house, who's making the most money at their job, and then people have that. And they don't want to let that go. It becomes fearful, right?
Yeah.
fear never produces any positive energy.
And it starts when they're 16, when kids are 16. Parents telling them, you got to be a fucking doctor. You got to be this.
I think it's even earlier than that, man. I think,
yeah.
Look at the shows that kids are exposed to, television programs, and the company that their parents keep, the company of the community that they're raised around. They're going to absorb these ideas way before they're 16 and say, this is what you need to do. You're developing this brain from day one. It's this fucking sponge. I mean, you've got kids. You know what it means.
Yeah. No, it is.
Soak everything up.
It is. But how much, Jason, do you think trauma in your childhood affects who you are today? How much of it? How can that be measured?
I can't put a percentage on it. All I know is that, just like you were talking about, you didn't know how it was going to affect you and how things have affected you. I was talking to a buddy of mine last week. I was really down and out after I found out my leg was broken again. Going through all that shit, and we started talking about other stuff, and for the longest time, I always thought my dad committing suicide over a decade ago was the worst thing that ever could have happened to me. And for a moment, I was having a conversation with my buddy, and for the first time, I thought to myself, well, maybe it was maybe it all worked out that way for a reason. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing that my father committed suicide, but if he hadn't, I wouldn't be in the position I'm at today. Like, I might have been, before he died, dude, I was like a straight edge, square type dude. Like, I didn't want to fuck around with anybody, tell me you smoke weed, you're over there in that department.
Right.
I was one of those guys. I was a tight ass. And
everything's in a nice little box. I know that feeling. Yeah.
He was a Republican, and I'm the furthest thing from it now. I don't even align myself with Democrats. Even it's.
I haven't voted since I was 18.
If he hadn't done that, where would I be now? Would I have grown as much as I have? Fuck no, dude. But I also think that there's things that have negatively happened in my life that maybe have held me back. And I know from different type of experiences with entheogens that they have brought up past memories and trauma that I've been able to deal with and kind of assimilate into my life now. And I wouldn't even have remembered those things had I not ingested said chemicals or plants.
Yes.
So how it affects people, I don't know, man. I'm a big fan of nature and nurture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's all about your gene pool, and I don't think it's all about how you're raised. I think that there is a real blurry line there on how you're raised, what your genetics are, what you're exposed to. All that stuff culminates to the individual that you are. Now, what percentage it is, it's
and
way different for every person. I'm
what percentage is subconscious to?
Sure. Yeah. What percentage is unconscious? What percentage do you never have access to?
Exactly.
But I know, man, and we talked about it before, when I took ayahuasca, man, did that bring up some serious past trauma, and I was able to assimilate it, and
that's on my bucket list, bro.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca's on my bucket list. I had an experience with mushrooms, which I will also talk about. Yeah.
So you mentioned about your mushroom trip. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Fuck. I had a little window, a 2-week break in the middle of my wedding season, and I had to experience that. Something I had to do. So I went to a friend's cottage. My buddy, who's also in the podcast, and he didn't take anything. He was just supervising. And me and my wife, we took mushrooms. My wife is an identical twin. And at one point, she was walking behind me, and I could hear her whisper, oh my God, I'm talking like Isabel, her sister. And then I look at her, and I'm looking at her sister, like it's Isabel, her twin sister.
But she wasn't there.
No. And then I look away, my buddy, and then I look back, and it's Caroline. I look away, look back, it's Isabel again. That was the freakiest thing of, I think, the whole trip itself. Not to mention there was the nature thing that
You were near a lake or something like that, you said, right?
Yeah. And the forest was across from the lake, and another point, so that was weird. Another point was when the whole wall of trees started talking to me, because we went deep. I think we took 4.5 grams.
Yeah, that's a good dose, man.
Yeah,
that's
I could see.
Dose. 5 grams.
Yeah, that's the hero dose, they say, and then the whole forest was moving like in and out like that.
Like breathing, right?
Yes, and coming back to, does it matter if it's in your head or if it's real? My point is like, I was interpreting that like the forest is telling me, you should come and play with us more often. Like, see how beautiful I am? The trees became these incredible studs around me. I was in awe of every tree around me. And, but that, it was a very emotional moment. And that got me to, I was on a high for a few days after too, just that nature thing.
Afterglow, right?
An afterglow, yeah. And now when I leave my house in my car, I look at everything around me and I'm more aware, more awake of everything. Just this psychedelic trip of seeing a plane go by and people are in there in a little tin can, and then it's just everything. So
on psychedelics, especially for me, and mushrooms in specific, it just seems like everything has got so much meaning in it. And I think it really, that's what really is going on. But on a day-to-day basis, our ego kind of overrides that program. So we don't have the opportunity to see how beautiful a red LED light is, or a one leaf on a tree. It's like, everything is fucking amazing, dude. We just don't really realize it because we're so desensitized to all the amazing features of this world.
That's true. And that's why a little kid will stare at something. Come on, Junior, let's go. Let's get a move on. And he's just in that moment. He's enjoying something that's natural, whatever it is, a bug or, yeah. So it's kind of going back to that. I agree. That's a good way of putting it. Absolutely. That's what it feels like.
Everything is like an epiphany on psychedelics for me. Depending on the dose, but and then I had a bad trip too, in the sense that my buddy that wasn't on the mushrooms, I started thinking he could kill us at any minute, and then he became this serial killer in this movie I was inventing in my head. Wow.
Because I was disconnected, right? So the whole thing from the get-go, I said, the experience feels like I'm in a studio. None of this is real. It's like a computer animation. I really got that at the beginning. That feeling of it's a simulation.
What if we are in a simulation?
Exactly. So I did get that feeling, and it made sense to me. When I was having the feeling, it made sense. I'm going, yeah, that's completely possible.
Is it really that far-fetched? You know, even when you're not on psychedelics, when you think about it, is it really that far-fetched that we are in a computer program, an ultra-realistic Xbox 9 million computer program?
Jason, it seems like technology is leading us there.
Yeah, it seems like if we're not there, we are on our way to create it soon.
Right. It's only a matter of a couple years now when you're going to put on a suit and you're going to like your life. Instead of sitting for 8 hours in your cubicle downtown, you'd rather be in this video game all night because your life is more exciting.
Well, you know, and we want to touch on, you know, have you ever seen the movie Surrogates?
No.
That might be a movie you want to check out, man. It's with Bruce Willis and I forget who else is in there. There's a couple actors in there, but basically the concept of it is the real world is so dangerous that you're able to create a like a cyborg version or a robot version of yourself, however you want it to look, however age you want yourself to look.
Okay.
And then you have an interface in like a lazy boy chair in your house. So when you wake up in the morning, you get in your lazy boy chair, you jack yourself into your program, and then it turns on the program for your surrogate, which is like a robot body, to wake up, and then you operate that robot in your chair all day. So these people are like all gross looking and shit in their apartments, and they don't have a shower or move, right? They're all fat asses and everything. But they're projecting on the world their surrogate, which is like hot, you know, big boobs, you know, fucking whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and you experience the world that way. You should check that out. It's a great film, dude.
I will. Might even do that tonight, my love. Yeah.
Sure, it's on Netflix or something.
But ayahuasca, I've heard and read amazing things about it. So
it's a painful journey, dude, but it was worth it. And it's kind of been coming back to the forefront of my mind again. Like I'm getting ready. It's like it's something like when you're in the middle of it, you're like, why did I do this at points, right? And then the next day, you're like, that was incredible. I never want to do that again. But
yeah.
And some people, they do it the correct way. They go down to, the Amazon, they do it in consecutive nights, and they have a whole, what do they call it? A retreat, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have that. It was just, one night in a facilitator's home.
But it was powerful.
It was very powerful. Yeah. And I said to myself, and I knew I would be ready for it again eventually, but right now is not the time. So now it's starting to come back to my forefront. And this was last December I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever that really decides to kick in, I feel like it really found me. I kind of looked for it a little bit, but it's not like I went out to the store to get ayahuasca. It's not like that.
Right.
It seems, and
it found
the more you
you,
hear
yeah.
about it, it finds you.
Yeah, exactly.
And it'll find me again when I'm ready. Right now, I feel like there's things that are boiling up that probably need to be dealt with. What they are, I'm sure I'll be surprised at what I find. But when I'm ready, I'll try it again.
Good for you, man.
I want to talk about your treatments a little bit, man. So let's go back to, you got an issue with a lump on your nipple, and you're drinking heavily.
Yeah.
You got to start chemo. So how long was it by the time you found out it was breast cancer to when you started chemo? What was
about 2-3 weeks?
2-3 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting hammered every day.
I got operated, removed. I had a pump sticking out of my chest to just this thing, the fluid draining. That was surreal. Drinking like a motherfucker. And then I know I have to stop. And then
why do you have to stop? Because
I have to stop drinking because it's not good to drink alcohol while you're on chemo. It's just not recommended. The oncologist said, maybe a touch of red wine once a week, but
definitely.
And yeah, exactly. When you're French, a touch of red wine is a whole bottle. Yeah. But yeah, so I wanted to stop completely, and I wanted to experience what it was to be sober, even though I had started smoking weed, and the weed helped me so much to keep eating, because chemo is the most depressive state of mind I've ever been in my whole life. It's a weird mental battle because it's poison. The oncologist
explain what chemo really is.
Chemo is
about chemo and radiation all the time.
Right.
I learned a little bit more about it with the whole experience with my grandmother, but why don't you explain it to us?
Well, the way it was explained to me is it's not an exact science, so
good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So they remove the breast, the tumor or the actual cancer mass, but because the breast is connected to lymph nodes, it could travel in other parts of your body.
What stage were you? Did they get
my stage, I was diagnosed with stage 2B as in Bob.
Okay.
So stage 2B is not fun, but it's treatable with an aggressive type of chemo, a very aggressive type, which is what I had. And it took it from, after you get the operation, you go to 50% chance of it coming back within the next 2 years. So that's why you do the chemo, to take it down to whatever percentage is 15. And then when you do the radiation, it goes down finally, whatever they've told me is 7% of a chance of the cancer coming back in the next 2 years. So in other words, infinite possibilities tells me that this thing could come back with a vengeance. It could. It could absolutely. But the magic is the experience I went through, I'm okay with it. That's the beauty. I say that in complete honesty. I'm okay with dying. That's the beauty of it. It hit me the day after I came back from being hospitalized overnight, because I went in there in the emergency. My blood count was so low. I got a fever, and if it wasn't taken care of that night, I could have died. So I ended up in the emergency. I ended up in the cancer ward where people were levels 4 or 5 of cancer, much worse than I was. So my level of empathy just went to another level. And I actually, at one point, started crying for the guy next to me who was had brain cancer and was yelling out his wife's name all the time. And I started crying for him because his situation was worse than mine was.
That's powerful, dude. That you're in this situation. We touched on it a little bit earlier too, where you're in this harrowing situation. You don't even know how to deal with where you're at, right?
Oh, I was at the point where, Jason, if I had a baby beside me and he's my son, I couldn't even lift a finger to help him. When you say you're in control of fucking nothing, I was crying like a baby. They gave me some type of heroin just to take the pain away. That second wave of chemo is a very painful chemo in your bones. It just creates like a migraine all over your bones. Think of a migraine.
Intravenously, right? It's in a drip. How do they do it?
Yeah, they just put it into the port. You just dump it in there, and the first day you're okay. You're just a little tired when you get home, but the next 8 to 10 days, it becomes hell. It just becomes, it's a very depressing state of mind. It's hard to explain.
Did you see Breaking Bad? Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yes, saw the whole thing.
I just started it because I have a lot of downtime with the broken leg.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm about 7 episodes in, and he just started his chemo. Was it kind of like that for you, where it was like kind of took you off guard one day, or?
Oh, completely. I mean, it's just a weird experience. So I'm going through it for the first time, and the psychedelic experience comes from watching yourself in the mirror. So I've completely stopped drinking, and all my hair is everywhere on my body, everywhere. So I look like I'm white as a ghost. I got black lines underneath. You'll see it in the podcast when my eyebrows are gone. That is a psychedelic experience. Just looking at yourself and you're going, what the fuck is going on? And you go through all the emotions from anger to fucking despair to just fear.
It's like the stages of loss, right?
Yeah. It's just a normal human, but like any ideology, I think I could have gotten trapped into a negative vibe, meaning I'm angry at everyone. Why is this happening to me? But I chose the glasses half filled with water. I really went that route because to me there was no other option.
It's really easy to fall in that other camp too.
Oh,
man.
Fuck, is it ever?
Crazy.
Is it ever? Especially where the poison is making you depressed. It's easy to just go the other way, to just feel...
I'm being poisoned. Woe
correct.
Me, right?
And that's what it is. That's what chemo is. They're poisoning your body just the right amount so it doesn't kill you, but it's going to kill all the fast reproducing cells in your body, which includes cancer. But it also includes a bunch of shitload of cells you do need in your gut. No, it gets all killed. And that's where the nausea comes from and all the pain and all that shit. So it's a weird experience, and it's not an exact science. And I found it fascinating talking to the oncologists. Nobody really wants to tell you what the fuck's going on. But I finally got an oncologist who was an assistant to my main oncologist. I couldn't make it. And then she explained everything that day. All the vulnerability, like there's that 7%, so we don't know. It might come back. That's what I wanted to hear. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like I just wanted the real deal. And that's what they told me. And I remember after I came back from
you didn't get fired for telling you like that, That's a good point. Who knows? A lot of people like I went in to get my MRI on the knee, and I says, can you see anything, or does it just go in the data on a disc? She's like, oh, no, I can see. I'm like, well, what do you see? It's like, oh, there's definitely a tear in there. I'm like, well, thank you for being honest with me. It's kind of, I want to know what's going on, But everybody's like, they shouldn't have told you that. They could get fired. Yeah. All she was doing is being honest with me. That's what I needed right then. I asked her,
Absolutely. You want to know the real deal. What are you up against?
That's
because you don't want to have any surprises. You. Yeah. So the more I knew about it, the better it was. So if it does come back, I'm not angry. I'm 7%. Those are the facts. It doesn't matter how positive I am. if nature wants to come and fucking get me, it will. Yeah. It's as simple as that. But I've come to terms with that. And coming back from the emergency, I remember, like yesterday, I was editing a wedding, and then I decided I had to listen to this song. So I went on YouTube, I played the song from one of my favorite band, and I cried like a baby. I was actually on the floor here, crying like a baby.
What song is it?
It was In You and I from Yes. It just, Yes has this, I'll talk about that in the movie. Yes has this sort of reverent, everything is in major keys mostly when they write their stuff. And that whole progressive rock movement to me was important because I was in a band at the time, and when I started playing bass, I went from playing 3-chord rock, really simple stuff, which there's nothing wrong with it, but my next experience was watching Yes live on this round stage that looked like a fucking spaceship, and it was at the Civic Center in Ottawa, and it began with Siberian Khatru, and I remember crying. I was watching it, and my friend said, "You want to get the fuck out of here?" Because my buddy was just into 3-chord rock. He couldn't even relate to what was being played, but I just felt this feeling of, wow, this is possible in music, in rock music, meaning that a song doesn't have to be 3 minutes. It can actually go on for like half an hour if we decide it's going to go on for half an hour. So it took on all this sort of like that infinity thing where anything's possible.
Infinite possibilities.
Correct. No, but it's true. It's true. When you think about it, like the most creative people break the fucking rules all the time. They break the rules because rules are limitations, right? So, and then I was on the floor, I was crying like a little baby listening to the song, and then I remembered being completely helpless when they shot heroin into me to take the fucking pain away from the bone pain I was feeling. And then I realized I was in control of nothing, and then I just let go. I said, it's okay. Like, it's okay. I said to myself that, you know what, maybe even dying is the most beautiful part of this whole experience. Maybe it's a mind fuck I'm playing on myself, but I'm saying I'm okay with it. And that song from Yes, In You and I, it just has that reverent feeling to it, and it has a religious sort of something bigger to aspire. I'm part of something bigger than myself. And I became okay with dying at that point. Yeah.
Wow. That's got to be a real trip, dude, going from not being okay to die to being okay to die.
Correct.
I mean,
Isn't that
it's such
cool?
a simple line, but goddamn, I bet there's a lot of fucking shit that goes along with that line.
Well, a lot of bad shit as well, because once I came out of the chemo, I went cuckoo. I wanted to fuck everything that moves because my hair grew back. Mm-hmm. I wanted to experience. I was like, it was weird.
Like your
it was
testosterone level went through the roof or something,
yes,
right?
Yes, that's what I felt like. Like Caroline, my wife, is going like, "You're fucking crazy," right? I go, "But you understand why I'm crazy?" Yeah. So
do you think it was all related to your body chemistry, or do you think like I'm getting healthy again? Fuck, I need to just explode on the world. Was it kind of both?
Because I was so like, things were so contrived for 6 months. Like, don't do this, don't do that, don't get too excited. Yeah. It's like you're sort of like just flatlining. That I think I just needed to do fun stuff. So I started drinking heavily again. Smoked a shitload of weed. I was fucking high for 2 weeks nonstop. Like, we went to Jamaica on a trip just to get, to turn the page on the chemo, radiation. But then I just went cuckoo. I mean, I even tried cocaine. I did stuff. Like, I just wanted to experience life. Strange.
No, it's not strange to me, man. It's not at all. It's really not.
And now I'm coming down from that, which is cool. Well, you know what I mean? Like, I'm coming down from it. Now things are leveling out where I'm going, okay, motherfucker, like, you did it. Yeah.
Life, man.
Correct, yeah. And it makes sense. Like, the duality makes sense. You go from just doing nothing to being miserable all the time to just being happy all the time. So, yeah.
Well, shit, man. After you go through some journey like that, as like, I give everybody a free pass to do whatever the fuck they want, man.
And it's
sure. Like,
it's weird. I'll tell you something. Whoever the fuck has cancer almost has a license to do whatever the fuck they want. There is almost like that X factor, that little box that even the government, I don't get who the fuck you are. You really think a government official is going to sit in my fucking living room and tell me you can't smoke weed right now? It's illegal, and I'm going to report you. I'm calling the cops right now.
Go for it. Fuck you, right?
Yeah, fuck you. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, you see like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? I mean, the kids that are dying and they get these wishes and stuff like that. But, you know, the adults, they've got to go through that stuff too, man. If you have like your bucket list or whatever, and you know that time may be approaching soon, and I just can't even imagine what it would be like for you, man, just to kind of come out of that whole horror scene. And then I can only imagine that would be the only rational thing to do, is just to explode on life. Just to fucking
it makes sense
on everything,
it makes sense.
all the world, dude.
My wife is beautiful about it because she understood it. Like, fuck it. I understand where you're coming from. I get it.
That's great, man. It's really, I'm glad when I hear people have a good support system on them, man. It seems like Caroline's been through it with you thick and thin, man. Like,
bro, there is a 5-minute segment dedicated to my wife in the movie, and it's just that it's weird. Life is weird. It's almost like all the women were leading me to her, and just because we talk about it, she's on the podcast too, and is going to be talking about the caregiver. It's not easy for her too, man. It's not. Like, fuck, you know, I didn't want anybody to know at the beginning. You know, I was drinking like a fish. I said, because you feel vulnerable, right? You're a man. You can't fucking show weakness, and don't talk to anybody about it. Don't fucking... And that was hard on her because she wanted to talk about it. Fuck, it's just fault, you know? So all of that was great. It was great, like, when you talk about coming out of the storm and being in love, I was already in love with my wife. Now it's just nothing. I will, lay down in front of a train for my wife, no problem. Yeah. She is an incredible human being. Weighs 110 pounds, can fucking outrun me, outdrink me, out fucking anything me. Seriously. She is a fucking triathlete. She's just a go-getter, right? And she has a childlike sense of life, and I'm around that. She's like a little fucking kid, happy all the time. I love it.
That's great, dude. When you're going through all these problems, you know, chemo and radiation and cancer treatment is not fucking cheap. Now, you're in Canada, I'm in the States. Obviously, we have a little bit differences as far as our programs as medicine.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, really. So, what was it like going through this in Canada? I mean,
I have no complaints, Jason. No complaints whatsoever.
Socialized medicine. So
socialism at its best.
Socialism.
Yeah. So what they've been doing, Americans, let me explain how it works. So they've been taking money from my paycheck since I started working, right? So we get taxed more. But when the shit hits the fan, bro, you pay for fucking nothing. And they take care of everything. And the waiting lists are long when it's not an emergency. But when you have cancer, you go to the head of the line. And I was treated like fucking royalty. The Ottawa Cancer Clinic is a gem. Everybody that works there is cool as fuck. Everything was incredible. Just not having the stress, Jason, to having to worry about money. I can't tell you. I mean, there's no price. To me, looking back today, I go, I don't know any other system that would make sense.
Yeah, I just for me, like going through this leg problem, I had a surgery last week. You know, this is going to cost me, even with health insurance, thousands of dollars, dude. Thousands. Just because of an accident I had.
Yeah, but you were only taxed. You were taxed at half of what I'm taxed, so you should be able to put it away for a rainy day, right?
Yeah.
We know that's not the way it works. Yeah.
No, it's not. You know, it's in my brother-in-law. He had surgery on his back. He's not paying a dime. I think he's on like the Obamacare type of stuff. My work provides my health insurance. It's like $550 a month just for the health insurance. And I've got all this out-of-pocket stuff already. not including like all the stuff with the surgery and all. It's just going to be a fucking nightmare. So I think it's great, dude, that you're going through the most challenging time in your life, and that's one thing you didn't have to worry about was the money.
Correct. And to be fair, I'm not in a position to comment how good our system is or not. Politically, or, the finance involved and all that, I don't know if it's being run properly. All I know...
Seems like you're a walking example of it.
Exactly.
You're here, dude. You know what I mean?
There you go. Ostensive definition of socialism right here. Still alive.
Nice.
Very much so. So everybody at the cancer clinic, you could feel, and there's a silent understanding amongst cancer patients too. There's that's a cool thing too. It's a fraternity sort of, and everybody, there's a certain ambiance in the room, and everybody knows what's going on.
I do some work at dialysis clinics for, for renal failures and things like that. I do a lot of electronics work in those clinics nationwide, and I understand how important it is for these people who are stuck in a chair 4 to 6 hours at a time to have their television. It's all they have sometimes, especially like older people. They don't have like their iPhones with podcasts and shit like that. They're not exposed to that stuff, so it takes a lot for them people to sit in chairs. How long were the treatments when you were sitting there? And
treatments take, the chemo treatment would be there for, a couple of hours altogether? There's just, they flush your port, and then you gotta wait for the actual poison to come in, because it's made that day. And then they go through a protocol to make sure you're the right dude. You don't want the wrong chemo, that wouldn't be good. And then, takes about 2 hours, yeah. It's pretty boring, and I would listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
That's what I would do, yeah.
One thing that something that really concerned us as far as like the American medical system was when my grandmother went in and she was first diagnosed. She's 89 years old, and she had been pretty much in good health her whole life. She'd only been in the hospital to deliver both of her kids and for that cancer diagnosis. I mean, that's a pretty good run.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like she had some cataract surgery or something, but she was never admitted to the hospital for anything like that. So she's in the hospital, and they do a biopsy on the lung. They find out it's cancer, and they says, okay, here's your choices. You can, A, do nothing, or B, you can start your radiation tomorrow. And if you do nothing, then we're discharging you right now. You either accept treatment or nothing. So we had to pretend we knew that this wasn't going to be an option for her, right? It was going to destroy her either way.
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself, what good is radiation going to be? So I asked them, the doctors, I said, is this going to give her any quality of life? Well, no. It's only going to help with the pain. I says, what pain is it going to help with? They says, well, it's going to take pressure off of her spine because that's where this tumor has spread to, and it's causing her discomfort on the spine. That I understood. So it's going to shrink the cancer around the spine, so helping her spine feel better.
Right.
Well, she's on morphine, right?
Mm.
So she's got that for pain. So why would we give her radiation to shrink the tumor, even though it's not going to stop it at stage 4? This is going to happen, right?
Right.
And risk burning her body from the inside out.
Radiation is not fun, too.
No,
you literally burn. I was bleeding. Yeah, for sure.
And I thought about this, and I just thought about how inhumane this was. It's like, okay, you can stay in the hospital this weekend if you're going to start your radiation treatments, or if you refuse radiation or any kind of cancer treatments, we're pulling you off of your IV, we're pulling you off of, any of the medication that's helping you out right now. We're just basically going to discharge you. So we had to pretend and get her down to the radiation department, get a tattoo on her back, okay? They laid her, this is a woman with a broken back and 89 years old. They laid her flat on a metal fucking table with no gown on for a half hour, had her lay still, had her put this tattoo on her back, right? All for the guise of, yeah, we're going to give her treatment, so don't discharge her this weekend. Because we were looking for a hospice.
Okay.
And we were just hoping that she was going to be able to be transferred from the hospital right to hospice without any kinds of treatments. These are treatments that she would have to be brought to. It's not
I get it. So if she doesn't get the treatment, she doesn't get the hospice.
Nope, she doesn't get the treatments. You can either go to hospice or go home. So we were able to get her into hospice quickly on that Monday.
I see.
And she only lasted a week in hospice.
Got it.
But they wanted to give her radiation, chemo, and all this stuff to an 89-year-old woman. I mean, it was like my uncle went down there.
Yeah.
And it's like he had said it was basically like a sales pitch. Like, this is what we're going to do. They had all the paperwork. They had like, everything was like scheduled already for the radiation. It's like, well, do we have time to think about this? Or, well, no, you really don't. This is something you have to sign right here.
Wow, that's
so
a weird
the whole
dynamic.
thing gave us a really sour taste, you know. And I think that maybe that's a big difference between Canada and the United States, that maybe in Canada you take so much of the profit margin out for corporate profits, and maybe it sounds like they're putting people first, at least in most situations, in these grave danger situations.
I would say that that's the thought behind it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's coming back, like, our system can be really slow as fuck, too. We have to be truthful about it. I mean, if I just have, let's say, like just the port that I have I still have hormonal treatment till February, like that port won't come out for another, like, 2-3 months after it's all done, just because it's not an emergency, right? So there you go. So I have to keep this on, God knows for how much longer. It's always a reminder, right? I want it out, but yeah, so, or if you break a bone or something, you could literally be all night just to get that fixed at the emergency. That's a fact.
We should have waited 3 days anyway, so.
Well, there you go. But there you go, yeah. There you go.
Oh, man, yeah.
You know, so.
Well,
it is what it is, you know, and it's interesting how, again, ideologies, and let's say I would have lived in America and I'm in between 2 jobs. So I'm a hard worker, I lose my job, I get laid off, I get the cancer in between 2 jobs, I'm completely fucked, I guess.
Completely fucked.
It's weird. That's a weird dynamic.
It's a strange thing to do to your population. You know, it's like,
it is.
Sorry, you're on your luck
honest
right now, but now you're going to have to die because, you know, you lost your job. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, I'm a hard worker. I'm pulling up my socks right now. I'm working. Oh, but I got laid off. And anything can happen within the month, as I saw. So it's a strange dynamic to live in a country where it's pretty much a Russian roulette kind of thing, really, when you lose your job. It's kind of stressful, no?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Fuck.
That's like the one thing that stresses everybody out is, you know, am I going to keep my job? And these are for the people like myself in golden handcuffs, right? Where, you know, I've got a certain amount of money I've got to make because I've got this house, I've got, you know, these family responsibilities, I've got these cars, you know, and it's like that fear I was talking about earlier. It's like, now I've got this, you know, I've got my mini cabot, my Abbott Castle here, right? It's like, well, now I have to protect Abbott Castle. You know, it's like, so there's all this fear constantly about loss and what I can lose and things like that. And I have to realize a lot of times it's like, look, man, you cannot control this shit. It's like, I really had to put things on the back burner here because I can't get around. It's like, my whole leg's immobile, right?
Yeah.
I was, you know, in the house all week. I got out to the kids' football games this weekend. But that was a major pain in the ass. It was painful all fucking day long. It's like, I don't have the control on these things. I just have to, like you said, you let go at a point, dude. And you're like, I'm okay to die. It's like, that's the ultimate acceptance in my eyes. You know,
liberating.
when you're okay to die, what else is there to be scared of?
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
So I try and take these little things like, and I've had epiphanies like that at points in my life, but you forget these after, you know, life happens. You know, so it's almost like I slowed down with the first break, and then I like kicked up the afterburner because I feel like I was, you know, missing lost time, like we were talking about earlier. And now here I am again. I have to completely shut down, and it's just been fucking with my head, man. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I have to get to that acceptance point, and I'm getting there slowly but surely this time, and just realize, look, you have to settle down. There's nothing you can do. Acceptance. Right? And that's the key word here.
But I told you earlier, I don't know if you were recording, but I said, I don't know if I could go through that whole chemo thing again. But I would, because then you become the inspiration. Because what's happening to you, it's the same thing, like happening over again. Like, I can't even visualize that right now to go through that again. Let's say if I had to next winter, that's crazy, but I'd have to do it. Yeah. And then Jason Abbott becomes my inspiration. It's great.
Well,
we're all in this together, bro.
Inspiration to me, man. And I know a lot of people that, I'm kind of a Facebook whore, and I see a lot of people that you are inspiring on Facebook as well, man.
You're a dirty bitch, yeah. Jason. You know that.
That's
yeah.
me. Everybody knows I'm a dirty bitch. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, I am too. So the internet's amazing because at the end of the day, it's about connecting with people. So I'm making this movie. I want to inspire. I want to do all these things, but it's connecting with like-minded people. And the internet has made the world a lot smaller, and it's really, really a cool place when you go look for the right spots.
I agree, man. The movie, you keep mentioning the podcast, the movie. I'm assuming you're talking about Renault 2.0.
You saw the trailer?
I did see the trailer. It looks great. I mean, I know you're a videographer and everything. It looks great, man. I cannot wait to see the final product.
But you know, Rogan can be poetic. Like, there's some rants.
What? Joe Rogan could be poetic?
Oh, fuck yeah. It's poetic as fuck. He's a blue-collar poetic guy.
I know, man.
He speaks to me because it's that he pretty much comes from nothing, too, I guess. It's just there's some similarities there, and never went to university. I only have a grade 12 education. And he's figured out shit for himself, and even though he's a bit younger than me, it's almost like he became... over the winter, became sort of like a father figure. Like, I really look up to the way he sees life, the way he just expresses his ideas. They're really, really cool, and that's part of the fun in the movie is to put visuals sometimes, and just that opening little trailer, the fact that he's talking about war, and there's a war going on inside my body, and there's also war going on out in the world all the time. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I was looking at him like a big brother, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he is sort of like the leader of this whole thing, in a way, I would assume. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
no, that's how I always call him the podfather. So.
And the difference between religions, cults is, Rogan is the first one to call bullshit on himself. And in this movie, I do nothing but call bullshit on myself. It's the most tremendous ego flush I've ever had. And it's made me a better person, for sure.
So what can people expect from the movie? I'm assuming my visual of it is just some clips of you going through harrowing chemo treatments and then mixed in with other...
No, it's more about the podcast, actually, less about... I'm going to have to touch on the actual technical stuff about the cancer, because I think it's important for some people to know, that's sort of like the context that this is taking place in. But I would say that really it's not about that. It's about how the cancer became a psychedelic experience, and it's changed me forever. So does it matter if you ingest something that makes you look at things differently, or, you get a disease, or you're faced with something? It's the same thing. I mean, falling in love is a psychedelic trip. Yeah. Winning a hockey game where you score the goal in overtime and everybody's fucking jumping on top of you is a psychedelic trip. Yeah. You feel like it's fun. Life is fun. And if this is going to sound weird, but if you can get a hard-on for the bad stuff that happens in your life too, it makes you a better person. In other words, you know what? No, but listen to what I'm saying. Dude. Yeah. So the bad shit becomes, like, I'd rather go through adversity than to feel nothing. There you go.
That's good, man. It's, and I would always listen to Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb, right? And to take that, like, being comfortably numb, I don't think I could ever be comfortably numb. I would just be miserably numb, That's why
I like you, Jason. I can see it in you. You're a go-getter. That's why I'm in love with my wife. She's a go-getter. She's not a quitter. Fighter, man. You're a survivor. We're survivors. And that's the only thing we can do, man, is just fucking survive, keep pushing forward, improve yourself as a human being. It can only do nothing but good for the rest of the planet.
It's well put, man. I mean, I don't even know how to follow up with that.
And I haven't voted since I was 18, but at the end of the day, we don't even need to fucking vote. We can just do this on our own.
Yeah, I mean, voting isn't going to change, anything small in my life. You know what I mean? It's like I have my ideals, what I try and bring to the polling stations, but what I vote for is not going to affect my day-to-day operations as a human being. You know, it's on a grand scheme. It's the bureaucratic bullshit is what we're voting for, you know. Whether you think that it's going to make a difference or not, that's besides the point. It's how can you live your life on a daily basis better every day? How do you make those little tiny improvements every day? That's what I feel like life is about.
Yeah, okay.
Some days you do, some days you don't. Some days you take a step back. But the following morning, you got to wake up and say, all right, I got to make shit up, man. I got to go 2 steps today. You know?
Yeah, exactly. My point was more, I think voting is probably really important. And I'm probably completely wrong in saying that. The point I want to make is that I've become so disenchanted or disillusioned. You know, the way our system works, it's so archaic. It's like us against them all the time. I just don't like that dynamic. That's what I mean, yeah. Where I find at the grassroots level, with all the vulnerability, nobody likes better than somebody that admits that they're wrong and they apologize. Well, does that make sense?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not normal. Yeah. Well, this is a religion in Canada, right? Sorry. Yeah, but I find I like that about Canada, actually. I like that part. We say sorry way too much, but it's kind of cool, too, at the same time.
The way you say it is real cool, though. It's like,
excusez-moi.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Excusez-moi, both official language.
It's very polite, you know?
It is.
I think I was hearing somebody else talk about how they kept saying please and thank you around a dinner table around a different culture, and they're like, will you please stop apologizing and saying thank you? It's like, you know, you've told us thank you 15 times already. Just drop it. It's like they almost got started to get pissed off because of being so polite.
That can happen, too. And it might be a valid point. Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry about that.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
So I needed to clarify a couple things, man, as far as your productions are concerned. What is the difference between Infinite Possibilities, Renault 2.0, and 40?
40?
40, because in the preview it says 40.
Yep.
Is that just
but then it goes to 4,000. Then it goes to 7 million. I think Rogan says 7 million. And Tim Kennelly says 7 billion.
Gotcha.
And I just thought that whole thing is poetic in the sense of there's two things going on here. We're actually talking about war and how the fuck we're going to handle this thing with 7 billion people on the planet. But when you look at his
body's like a microcosm of it, right?
Yeah, it's like, and it makes sense. Like, you start with 40 people, you go, yeah, we could get along. It makes sense. Like, the whole thing is corny, but it makes a lot of sense, too, at the same time, and then it just gets out of control. And if there would be no police or whatever, after a while, like, yeah, we're going to have to take care of this guy. This one guy. So we're always at war. I think war might be part of who we are right now and are at the level of evolution we're at right now. And I just like that connection, too, to the fact that I was at war with my body throughout the whole winter. So that was the symbolism behind that.
Gotcha.
And the fact that somebody that comes out of cancer experience has something to say, which is the closing statement when he goes, somebody who's been at war would know maybe a bit better of how to find peace.
Yeah.
Which is accepting death is a big plus for me to accepting peace.
Do you feel like you're still in that death acceptance phase? Do you feel like that's ever going to fade?
I don't know.
Right now?
I'm feeling like after this movie I'm finished, I don't want to become a spokesman for cancer. I don't want to go on tour for cancer. I just want to move on with my life. I just need to do it. It's kind of something I need to do. It's weird.
I completely understand that, man.
Yeah.
This is something that I've needed to do. You know,
there you go. Yeah.
I don't know how long I'll be doing it. You know, I don't have like an end game or like a goal years down the road. I felt like the podcast was something I needed to do. Why, I still can't explain it. but it's been great for me.
And Jason, I listened to, like, I think I have 3 or 4 episode excerpts from your podcast and the movie. So while I was getting the poison, bro, I was listening to you. Think about that.
That's amazing, man.
So, and I'm here to tell you, thank you for what you do, Jason. Thank you very much. It's a great gift, bro. It's a great gift. You're good at interviewing. You got your shit together. You're a go-getter, and you inspire me. Thank you. You've helped me. You've helped me in my battle against cancer, and it's all going to come out in the movie. Shit.
It's just crazy to hear, dude, and I am so grateful that you feel that way, and there's no words to even follow that up, man.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
You go, bienvenue.
So I just want everybody to know, this guy, out of nowhere, he just shoots me a tweet with Joe Rogan and
yeah, that's right.
Rose
that's right. Yeah, I just tagged you. I didn't
like,
know if you were going to answer me. Exactly.
Of course I would answer you. So he tags me. He's like, "What shirt size do you wear? I'm going through cancer and I want to give you a shirt." I'm like, this fucking guy is going through cancer and he wants to give me something. And it's like, I send you my shirt size. I'm like, man, I'm such an asshole. I'm telling him, here's my shirt size. Send me a t-shirt. That's great. I don't even want you to send me anything. I felt like I needed to send you something. You're like, you already did, man. All these hours of podcasts I've listened to and shit like that. It was just incredible.
The impeccable manners of the Canadian. Yes. Even under cancer, I will give you a gift. But seriously, it's because you gave me something. And the t-shirts were just, it'll come out in the movie too. There's a story behind that t-shirt, An Infinite Possibility. Uh-huh. I don't know if you want me to touch on this quickly, but
sure.
This photographer, I was part of a studio at the time. We were part of sharing a studio. And this guy who's become a really close friend, Blair Gable, who's a photojournalistic photographer here in Ottawa. He's shot the Queen, all sorts of politicians and all that. And he's a really cool dude. And I was in the studio and he was just testing his studio lights and all that. So he asked me to just stand there. And I just started making faces. And that was one of the faces that I made when he took a picture, right? And then when I got operated on, yes, exactly, like that look of in total shock, what the fuck am I looking at? And then when I had the operation, he Skyped me, FaceTimed me, and he was wearing the t-shirt, and I just started crying because I said, fuck, that means you remember what I was talking to you on the golf course. And on the golf course, I was so drunk, Jason, and so high on weed you would not believe. This is 2 days before I got operated. And I started to talk to him about quantum physics and the infinite possibilities. I was listening to Amit Goswami. I was listening to some stuff about that. And I fell in love with the infinite possibilities that anything can happen at any second. And that really, when you think about it, from a creative point of view, there's no limits on how creative you want to be, both for evil or for good. It doesn't matter. And then it became that whole letting go. And I remember he hitting incredible golf shots, and I was playing some of the best golf I've ever played, and I was scared as fuck. So it was all that thing, and he remembered that conversation, and then he was wearing the t-shirt, and that inspired me. Then the light came on, and I said, fuck, I got to do a podcast while I'm on chemo called Infinite Possibilities, and just talk to people, and then it just grew from there. And it's a great sort of meme, right? Whatever you call it.
Meme?
Yeah, meme. It's a great meme to live by because it's powerful. Anything's possible, bro.
Well, it's rarity when a day goes by lately, man, when I'm not thinking of you, seriously. And not because you were coming on the show and all that. I've been, trying to, put myself in that mindset and stuff. But I really, you've been on my mind a lot, man. And you're one of my personal heroes. I just want to put that out there. And I just appreciate you doing what you're doing, man.
Thanks, bro.
I can't wait to see the finished product. People, please.
Wait till you see me run on the street. with the JRE run T-shirt at the end. I've got the whole ending in my part. Oh yeah, my head. It's going to be great. Yeah. So the other thing about making this movie is I don't plan things. It's the same thing for when we shoot weddings and stuff. I just improvise all the time. And the beauty of it is that whatever I had in my head before this whole thing started, it's completely different now. The movie is different than what I originally had in my head, and it's 10 times better now. So the lesson to learn is, for me, is let things build organically. Don't force it. Just let it happen. And then you get inspired. It's okay to change. It's okay. Constant flux.
The one thing that's constant is change, right?
Yes. Oh, fuck yeah.
That's
yes.
not going to change.
No. Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose.
You've lost me. You've lost
me. The more that things change, the more they stay the same. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
That's Rush up here. You know Rush, the band?
No.
That's how I came to start reading Ayn Rand. Yeah, he's a great lyricist. He's got great lyrics.
Oh, Rush, the band.
Yeah, Rush, the band.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you...
Sorry.
When I hear Rush now, I just think of Rush Limbaugh all of a sudden, but I
didn't
hear what you said. So Rush, yeah, great lyrics, man. I was a big Geddy Lee fan back in my bass playing.
Oh yeah,
so.
Very white music. I have to say, even Yes, my favorite band is. A part of me knows that it's extremely white music, but it's okay. It's very good.
Right on, dude. Why don't you tell where people can get a hold of you, man? Because I have a feeling people are going to want to reach out to you.
On Facebook, Sylvain Renaud, SylvainRenaud. Look for the bald guy right now. Picture, just a bit of hair growing on top with the shades. And yeah, you can write to me at video@renaudvp.com, RENOVP.com. That's my business email, and that's it. Other than that,
Twitter.
Twitter is Silk Cinema. I don't really tweet. I have to start doing that. Silk Cinema, SYLK Cinema, and yeah, that's on Twitter. But what I want really is just I want other cancer patients to get in touch with me, and I'm willing to help anybody that has a problem with that, trying to get through it, or just wants to talk about it. Fuck yeah, I will help anyone for that. But the rest is also about connecting with like-minded people, and I'm always up for a good conversation, bro. Like I had today with you.
Yeah, it's been great, man.
Good, man. There's so much more I can talk about. So hopefully the movie will address that, yeah.
We'll be doing this again sometime.
Yeah, maybe after the movie we can touch on more.
Sure.
Yeah.
When is it supposed to be released?
In October for breast cancer awareness.
Yeah,
all
right.
Sometime in October. So I'm not aiming for perfection in production value. I'm aiming for content. So there you go.
That's what we want, man. We want content.
Right on.
All right. Well,
Jason Abbott, you bad motherfucker.
Thank you so much, man. I applaud you for your honesty and your courage and your gusto going through this whole thing, man, and staying the way you have been and coming through a better person on the other side. You're a great example to anybody who's been through cancer. I appreciate it. And going through breast cancer on top of that as a man has got to be something incredible to experience. I wish you all the best of luck, my brother. I love you, man.
Thank you, man. Same here, Jason. I really, really appreciate it, and I love you too, bro. I love everything that you do, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
You're a good dude, man.
Thanks,
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, bienvenue, mon ami.
Well,
God bless America.
How do they say hang loose?
What, in French?
Yeah.
Y a pas de quoi.
Y'a pas de quoi, y'all.
Y a pas de quoi. Yeah, there you go.
All right, man.
Yeah. Okay, bro.
So, thank you so much.
Okay, man.
Bye.
Take care.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Why don't you go out there and give Silk some digital love. Don't forget to check us out on the website, www.intellectualgentlemansclub.com. Share this episode out. Like it, favorite it, retweet it. Anything really helps. I'm going to let Carl Sagan take us out here with some wisdom of the elders and then a track by Secrets. Hang loose, guys.
were hunters and foragers. The frontier was everywhere. We were bounded only by the earth and the ocean and the sky. The open road still softly calls. Our little terraqueous globe is the madhouse of those 100,000 millions of worlds. We who cannot even put our own planetary home in order, riven with rivalries and hatreds, are we to venture out into space? By the time we're ready to settle even the nearest other planetary systems, we will have changed. The simple passage of so many generations will have changed us. Necessity will have changed us. We're an adaptable species. It will not be we who reach Alpha Centauri and the other nearby stars. It will be a species very like us, but with more of our strengths and fewer of our weaknesses. More confident, far-seeing, capable, and prudent. For all our failings, despite our limitations and fallibilities, we humans are capable of greatness. What new wonders undreamt of in our time will we have wrought in another generation and another? How far will our nomadic species have wandered by the end of the next century and the next millennium? Our remote descendants, safely arrayed on many worlds through the solar system and beyond, will be unified by their common heritage, by their regard for their home planet, and by the knowledge that whatever other life may be, the only humans in all the universe come from Earth. They will gaze up and strain to find the blue dot in their skies. They will marvel at how vulnerable the repository of all our potential once was. How perilous our infancy. How humble our beginnings. How many rivers we had to cross before we found our way.
Thank you, Carl. And now for secrets. See you guys next episode.
never said I was a gentleman,
Actually,
motherfuckers.